Thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ+ and trans rights. You see, I have the equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine. Open borders.
I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Hey, whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world.
There it is again.
The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, how can I say this? You might need to tone it down just.
Tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. It's much easier on the ears than baby murder, so kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't. We don't.
Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. Let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like diversity is our...
Are you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is aide-moi. My sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it. All right, still, let's think about tactics. Okay, do you think that occupying bridges and blocking traffic is somehow winning people over to your cause?
Yeah, and making people hate us by blocking traffic is our thing. He's stealing our thing!
You're not stealing your thing. You must die. We will kill you all!
See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I love the homicidal thing that you got going on there. I really dig it, okay? But maybe market it just a little bit differently. Like the serial killer that everyone thinks is such a sweet guy, He's got 27 bodies in the basement, but he's like, coaching Little League. That's what I want. Be that guy.
Death to America.
The funny thing is, you don't even look Middle Eastern. Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong?
I'm not. I actually grew up on Long Island, but my parents sent me to college. Death to America.
HRC guy, you have been going over the top as well.
Well, it's important for us, they, them, to be accepted just like everyone else.
Yes, of course. And convincing people that they're intolerant for not wanting men to get naked in women's locker rooms. I guess that's genius. I mean, come on, it's next level stuff. All right, but insisting that your children be mutilated. I mean, come on, it's turning people off, you guys. I mean, not everyone, obviously, but until the election, can we just all pretend for a few months not to be crazed, lunatic, homicidal extremists?
Extremist? No, it's my body, my Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump.
You will obey me. Sorry. Glad we're all on the same page, though. So, how do you do it? When I do evil stuff, it seems like nobody likes me. When you do it, everyone finds you sympathetic.
Well, see, my people are oppressed victims. So we can rape, murder, and call for genocide, and it's pretty much totally justified.
Well done, Ahmed. Well done.
Hey you! Are you enjoying these videos?
Let me tell you why you're going to need to turn up your video or turn up your volume. No, I don't have my sexy phone voice on. I'll tell you a story first before we get started. You remember in the 1970s when kids were taking helium balloons and they would open them up and they would suck in the helium and it would make their voice squeaky. Do you know what I mean? Well, I was one of those kids in the 70s that did that, and while everybody else's voice got squeaky, mine disappeared. Completely just disappeared. And it was gone for about 2 months. Yeah, if I could sing and do the Barry White, I could probably do it right. But I lost my voice. Now, what they told my parents it was is I might have had some sort of weird reaction to the helium or something in my vocal cords. Well, that was, 40 some odd years ago or whatever, or 50 some odd years ago. And I used to deal with it about once every 2 years. And then it looked like I would kind of mature out of it as I got older. But at all my time at, Fox Television and other stuff, I would have to deal with it about every 4 years. I would lose my voice for a period of time, so I couldn't, be on the air. And I've been excused from this for pretty much the last 8 or 9 years. Haven't had a problem with it. So what I think's happened is between just, burning the fire so fast and stuff, I finally got to that point again that I got my system too far down. And I try to wait for it to come back. Right? Somebody saying I have my panty dropper voice on. But this is it. Anyway, so you might want to turn up your volume. But there's not anything that technically I can do about it right now. I just got to ride through it. And I hope that it comes back. But this is about the best it's going to be. The more I push, the more I'll lose it. So just make sure you have your volume up. As you join me on our late night love songs. You want me to play Misty for you? Anyway. It's just an effect. Someone's saying move closer to the mic. Does this work? I'm sorry, but got to get back in the seat and got to do what I do. So we're going to have an educational program today. I pre-apologize in advance for the voice. But it's kind of one of these things that when it happens, I have to work and build it right back up. Once this kind of failure in my, it's called aphonia, is what it is, like, different than dysphonia, which is what RFK has. Aphonia goes to a total loss, but for a very short period of time. Okay, share this real quick. We're going to do some interesting training. And the training that we're going to do is we're going to talk about something that's going on that's kind of come up again. Our vote scanning systems being turned off so nefarious ballots can be counted. So we're going to unpack just a 2-minute video, but we're going to unpack it factually because my job is to make you the smartest patriot in the room. So share this program. I'm going to get some warmth on my throat and see if I can keep at this. So we'll get started in about 2 minutes.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to the Grown Man Going Through Puberty show. I've lost my voice, but I'm trying to rebuild my vocal cords back up. It's just a thing. I've got to sit back in the seat and do it. You might have to turn up your volume. There's not much more that's coming out of me than this. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to unpack a 2-minute video. I don't know if you've noticed that President Trump has started sharing a tremendous amount of election integrity work and videos. And so that has spurred other people to start sharing their own election integrity videos as well. So I came across one video, I do not know when, and it was shot. Wait a minute. Wait, no, ladies, I'm looking at my chat. Put your clothes back on. This is just temporary. I'm not going to continue to do this voice. Yeah, please put your clothes back on. Sorry. If you're coming across this, it's a weird quirk in my voice that it happens, but it should come back. Good cross of a smoker's voice, though. But there's no power. I can't put any power behind it. If I try to push, it drops and it goes away. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to unpack. Okay, I'll do this voice. Have your martini shaken, not stirred. Get your cigarettes out. We'll play like we had a good time. But we're going to cover not the movie trailer, but the election tally systems. Here's the question. Are vote scanning systems being turned off so nefarious ballots can be counted? if you've been paying attention, election integrity is kind of going through this weird resurgence. A lot of it's tied to this Venezuela smart manic crap. Hey, look, anything to get rid of the machines is great, folks. But getting rid of the machines does not fix the problem we have in the United States of America. Our problems are much deeper than that. But anything that gets us a head start, I'm for. Now, where I set on this is the system really only kind of plays with us. It's never really going to fix itself when there's an opportunity to control elections. It's an illusion that our elections are transparent and accurate. So it's not about necessarily fixing it, but what the extent I don't think they're going to go to, there's never going to go to the extent to fix what needs to be fixed because it's federal racketeering. And we would have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lawmakers going to prison for very long term. They're not going to do that to each other. So they're going to take steps and measures, steps and measures, steps and measures. That's one of the ones I want to talk about today because there was a video that I saw online, even though my voice isn't here and it hadn't been on the air. I'm still here all throughout the time doing work, doing research, working on my next books or anything else like that. I'm here. I just haven't been able to communicate. And of course, when my voice is like this, I can't do radio or anything like that. Specifically radio. And so here's the context that we're going to do some teaching today, because it's very important that we get this correct. That's it. We must get every bit of this in election integrity correct. It's not cheerleading camp, although I'm all for cheerleading camp. It is only about getting it right and getting it fixed. But this video was just too good to pass up because there's so many topics we can talk about in 1 2-minute video. So here's how it came about. There was a post that somehow I managed to see come across my Twitter feed. And yeah, you're hearing my voice differently. It's a condition I have that haunts me every few years, that I lose my voice. Although if it's a teaching tactic that I do late night music voice that you can get naked to and it makes you pay attention, then maybe I'll try to teach this way. I don't know. But I saw this post come through. And it's, as you can see at the top, it's by Record Professor Clemens, that supposedly doubted if somebody knows about elections and stuff. But what he was posting was for this other fellow, which you've seen before, William Doherty, who is a math science and tech professor as well. Currently serves in some position at Texas A&M. You've seen him in the movie Selection Code. Here is how this text reads, which you can read it for yourself on the screen. But Clemens says, so much election fraud to expose. Hang on 1 second. I had to mute that or it would splatter all over the screen, sorry. Expert explains how hundreds of thousands of fake ballots with no chain of custody were submitted through Dominion tabulators configured not to check. Not to check for counterfeit paper. So this was the post. Expert explains how hundreds of thousands of fake ballots with no chain of custody were submitted through Dominion tabulators configured not to check for counterfeit paper. I want you to take a few points down. And I'm sorry for this, but when this happens for my voice, I kind of have to go through this exercise, because if I don't rebuild my vocal cords, which is just like anything else. It's a muscle, you got to work it. If we were counting how many things that this one post says, number one would be hundreds of thousands. Number two would be fake ballots. Number three would be no chain of custody. Number four would be through Dominion tabulators. Number five would be configured not to check for counterfeit paper. Those are the five material claims of this post. And this is kind of a double post. It's one election supposed expert holding up, heralding another election integrity expert. Number one, hundreds of thousands of ballots. Number two, that they're fake. Number three, no chain of custody. Number four, submitted through Dominion tabulators. Number five, configured not to check for counterfeit paper. I'm going to play the video for you. I'm going to play it all the way through once. It's 2 minutes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to unpack it. Now, the reason we're going to unpack it is because you sitting there may not realize this, but you are the key to us winning and getting our election fixed. Not a single expert out there. Not even me. I'm not the key. I'm a conduit, but you're the key. The reason I'm doing this is because if you don't understand it yourself, you cannot instruct your government, your lawmakers. You're it. You are it. You are the only thing that matters in this. Not a single expert, not a single professor, not a single attorney, not a single anything. You are the key. You are the one that possesses the power to get this fixed. Now, many times the system will usurp your power by frankly getting you to say stupid crap. Right? The system many times will trick you into saying things, claiming things that destroy your chances as an American voter to get it fixed. And that's why I'm doing this. Because, frankly, I'm like you. I don't want the rat bastards to win. This is about our children. For you and I, folks, this is over. All we can do is assume the teaching role and the instruction role. But this is about our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids. But you're the key to getting all of this fixed. Nobody's going to go from late night infomercials, hawking pillows, to becoming a governor that's going to fix us. That is not how this works. It is we the people. It always will be we the people. So with that, I want to show you this video first. This is where we'll start. I'm going to play it through. I do not know. I know there's probably an hour of this out there. I hadn't seen it before. But we're just going to analyze approximately 2 minutes here. Here we go.
There were many problems discovered during the Maricopa audit. So in the first place, the Senate subpoenaed the ballots, and the Board of Supervisors delayed 5 months before they delivered the ballots. Out of 1,600 something boxes, all but about 50, the seals were missing or had been broken. There was no chain of custody on them. Dominion has a very specific requirement for ballot paper to be used in a Dominion scanner. So we're talking about something that's 4 or 5 times thicker than an ordinary sheet of paper. It has to be manufactured by the Roland Paper Company in Canada, and it has to have an infrared fluorescent watermark on it. Inside the scanner, there's an infrared light and a detector to make sure that the ballot that's been inserted is not counterfeit. But when the citizen auditors actually got to look at the ballots, they found 9 or 10 different kinds of paper, most of which came from Staples and Office Max. You say, well, how is this possible that they scanned 2 million ballots and didn't detect and reject the counterfeit paper? It's very simple. There's a configuration setting to turn the detector off. So basically, the machine was set not to check whether the paper being inserted was counterfeit paper. And you can count counterfeit ballots as many times as you want and get the same numbers. But that doesn't mean that they were legitimate ballots, because they weren't.
Acceptance of counterfeit ballots wasn't just relegated to Dominion tabulators in Arizona. In Alabama, a citizen went across the street and printed a ballot image on notebook paper. The machine accepted and tabulated the votes on every single ballot.
So in other words, you can make 500 copies of one ballot and send them through.
Just send them through.
So this is why we need to be watching to make sure.
I think somebody said in chat, correct me if I'm wrong, that this might be footage from the documentary Let My People Go. Can anybody else confirm that? Is that where maybe this footage came from? I don't watch other people's work, but could that possibly be where this video came from? Not that it matters. What matters is as we unpack this, okay? Now, this is a very simple exercise. William Dordry, the man speaking, is a very learned professor. He's a well-known technology systems guys, and now he serves as a emeritus math professor or something at Texas A&M. I've had exactly one conversation with him in 5 years. Okay. Outside of that, and the narration is Professor Clemens, who is heralded as a big election expert and stuff. But this is where this came out. because all of this stuff is recirculating again. Now, you heard Dr. Doherty basically make a series of claims. I want to kind of unpack each one of these for you. And here's what I mean. There is not one or a dozen or 20 dozen people that are going to save our elections. 20 dozen experts cannot fix this. 20 million Americans that are concerned and take this seriously and learn it is the only thing that will change our elections. The teaching module here for you to understand is I would not hesitate at any time to have someone like Dr. Doherty sit on the witness stand and testify. He is more than qualified. He's the epitome of the type of person you want on the witness stand. Credentialed, presentable, not intimidating, measured, right? An air of authority. So that's what you want on the stand. Testifying in any case as to what went wrong. But I do believe there is one additional standard that supersedes all of that. And I think that standard is it must be factually correct. Right? Factually correct. Now, from a witness testimony standpoint, Dr. Doherty is only repeating secondhand knowledge. Most of you know that. Now, why do you know that? It's because the work that he's speaking of, the facts that he shares, come exclusively from my team. So even in the witness stand, he can only speak of what he has heard. He can't testify as to what he learned in an audit. He can only testify as to what he heard. Now, since many people will look at people, and you should, he's credible. I think the public at large doesn't understand how critical the facts are, and you have to get the facts right. And it's common knowledge that most people in election integrity, a lot of the things they talk about are things that you've been here on the journey for over 5 years. You've learned personally from our team. And a lot of people will just spit it out as experts, but they have nothing to do with it. There's only one expert I care about in this, and that's you. And I need you to become an expert in this. Because, see, you're on the ground. You're local. You're there. You need to understand how this works. So we're going to pull this apart, and we're going to go through it one by one. Now, it's going to be a 3-part angle that I'm going to do this. I want you to be in the critical mode, as if you were at a trial by jury. So you understand, is what I'm hearing as a juror evidence of something? The of something is it evidence of a crime? Which most people tend to think of elections and evidence in the terms of crimes. So that's the first part. The second thing I want you to think of, because you've got to put yourself into the prosecution box. If all we do as a nation is regurgitate what any media tells us, we're dead. I would assume you understand that, right? If we just regurgitate things we hear, we are no better than the pro-Palestinian protester on the street that says Israel murders babies. They round them up in a room and burn them up. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is why we must be better. We must actively choose to be better. Okay? And so I want you to put yourself, for this short little video we're going to analyze, in that prosecution box. And you must understand cause and effect. What is a crime, what is not, what is fact, what is not, what is hearsay, what is not. If you're just tuning in, yes, I've lost my voice. It happens every once in a while. It's only a thing I have with my voice that happens. Sorry. Just play like you're listening to late night radio, but instead of love songs, you can do the horizontal mambo too. It's how to get your elections fixed. So here we go. I think I'm going to split screen this here. And let's kind of take it claim by claim. Let's begin.
There were many, many problems discovered during the Maricopa audit.
Okay. I'm only asking you to analyze this as if you're the jury. You have an expert witness with multi-degrees saying there were, I'm Batman. Did I deliver? Somebody saying, Jovan say, I'm Batman. Anyway, now you've blown my cover. What the fuck am I going to do now? It's the only time I get to wear spandex and get away with it. And you forced me in a weak moment to give up my ID. Although if you looked at my eyes and my suit, you would know that's why I have to darken out my eyes. I'm Batman. Anyway. Guys people should not be trying to analyze what I have or have not shared with the Trump administration. And let me tell you why it doesn't matter what I've shared with the Trump administration. Because if you think President Trump is going to fix this, you're already misguided. President Trump is the lightning rod. You are the fixer. If you don't get this, if you don't adopt this, we won't fix this. Yes, it matters what he knows, But what matters more is what you know. Go back to that one little point.
There were many, many problems discovered during the Maricopa audit.
Okay. When you're in a jury box and you have an expert witness with incredible credentials like this speaking, and they're speaking, basically paraphrasing, there were incredible problems with the Arizona audit and discoveries of the Arizona audit. Can you use his testimony on that topic? Put it in chat, yes or no. Can you use his testimony? Put it in chat. No, you cannot. And the reason you cannot use his testimony is because it's hearsay. He was not a participant in the Arizona audit. He had nothing to do with the Arizona audit. And so you can't use that. In a court of law, it doesn't matter what he testifies to. If he was sitting in a court of law, you cannot use that testimony. He was not part of the audit. Therefore, it's hearsay. Therefore, he can't even be considered a material witness. Now, I want to remind you of one thing. People tend to think that documentaries are to inform you, and in a way they are. But documentaries are actually made to sell you, just like a television commercial. That's why they get all these documentaries on global warming. They're there to convince you. One of the things documentaries will do is use experts as the imprimatur. They hope you'll buy into the expert because they have all these credentials. You will assign a high standard to the expert, and you will believe what the expert says is absolute fact. This is from a documentary. Please take it for what it is. Now let's go to the next little piece. So you understand you can't use his testimony on that.
So in the first place, the Senate subpoenaed the ballots, and the Board of Supervisors delayed 5 months before they delivered the ballots.
Okay. This is a fact. In the lawsuit that allowed the subpoena of the ballots, the county election officials delayed for months and months. I'm not going to expand on it, but that is a fact. The question that should come up in your mind is what could have taken place in those many months. Now, the indication that the county did not turn over the actual ballots for 5 months, is that an indication? And Pat, I have the same question, but this is why we're going through this drill. We're fighting for our country. You will hear many things that sound like my team and me, but they're not coming from my team and me. And I'm trying to help you understand the differences and why they matter. So the first question I have, answer in chat. The delay of getting the ballots turned over to do an audit, was that a crime? Put it in chat. Yes or no. Was that a crime? Right? And the answer is no. Not only is it not a crime, it's not enough information to be indicative of a crime, but it is suspect. So at best, you set it over here and say, well, that should be something that should be investigated. Now, some of you are saying, but it was nefarious. See, you know a little bit more information because you followed me long enough. You know it ended up being an absolute confirmation of nefarious activities, but I'm asking you to peel it back. Don't ever assume, and I don't do this, I don't assume that everybody has hung on to my program teaching about elections and stuff for 5 years. Don't. I assume everybody's brand new. Because if I were to assume everybody was on the same learning trend, I'm cutting off too many people. And that's why I'll keep it really focused. So at best, all you can do, especially if you were a juror, that's why I asked you to consider it as a juror. You don't have any previous knowledge to get you pure juror in there. Is this an indication of a crime? No. Is it an indication of there should be a concern? Yes. Was the delay any type of crime? No, it's not. Not at all. Okay. S2 says I can get used to your Batman voice. I'm Batman. Anyway, that's all this is. So that's the first thing. That in and of itself has to be put in the suspicious category, which only means you got to dig deeper and see what it connects to. Let's go to the next point.
Out of 1,600 something boxes, all but about 50, the seals were missing or had been broken.
Okay. Now, this is a fact. You learn from our team that everybody doing the audit ignored. I tell you this because in an audit, every single piece of evidence must be considered. Mims Max says they're Catwoman. Cool. You got the costume, send me a photo. Anyway, we shared this with you years ago. Now you must remember the purpose of an election audit. Pop quiz. Is the purpose of an election audit to determine if Dominion voting systems changed the votes? Yes or no? Put it in chat. Is the purpose of an audit to determine if Dominion voting systems changed any votes? The answer is no. Is the purpose of an audit to determine if votes were swapped? Yes or no? I'll repeat the question. Is the purpose of an audit to determine if votes were swapped? And once again, the answer is no. Is the purpose of an audit to determine if any of the election machines or systems were rigged? Answer it in chat. Yes or no. And once again, the answer is no. Is the purpose of an election audit to determine if your candidate had the election stolen from them? Yes or no? No. Now that may surprise you, but every one of those points I gave you is actually a point of legal disqualification. You didn't know that. This is why I'm teaching you this point. Mike is correct. An audit is to determine if proper procedures and rules were followed. That is it. Now, why does that matter in a court of law? Because if you come in and say, I did this audit to confirm how many votes Dominion or whatever changed, you're immediately disqualifying your claim. Do you know why? Because you have come into the audit with a predetermination of intent that you have not audited yet. Therefore, you immediately compromised and poisoned your own audit. And basically, in the laying of the claim, in legal terms, you disqualify yourself. Now, the reason I need you to understand this is I just want you to think of all the lawsuits filed and all of these claims. I'm telling you right now, that was the system's plan. Don't ever underestimate the system. They know how to manipulate this shit out of you. Now, this is so mission critical. Because when you come into an audit, when you come into a claim basis, and you are already claiming crimes, it allows them to disqualify you. Our whole country, by so-called election integrity experts, making claims. And we're doing this because of the claims made in this one post. Claim number 1, so much election fraud to expose. That's a claim. And you just see claim after claim in here. Hundreds of thousands of ballots, fake ballots, no chain of custody, submitted through Dominion tabulators, configured not to check for counterfeit paper. That is training for your mind. And if they can train you to communicate that way, you'll never see the inside of a courtroom. And what happened in all this stuff, it never made it inside a courtroom. And this is a prime example. Why? The bottom line is, thank you, Lady Vu. My voice will come back. It just happens. You need to go back in this filter, and you need to try to understand why all of these rat bastards don't want you to use the term malfeasance. Because they know if you wise up and you use the law as the law is written, you will kick their ass. And so they have millions invested in controlling your words and in controlling your mindset. They need you to disqualify yourself. That's it. That's it. And what they allowed you to do, and they allowed lawyers to do it. The lawyers were chosen in this, folks. A lot of these words were used intentionally, but they let you donate away to these causes, knowing nothing will ever happen to them because you gave them everything they needed in advance. So part of this racket is through influencers, television programs, broadcasters telling you what to think. That one word at the top of this, fraud, disqualifies your ability to be in court and make a legitimate claim. Because the only legitimate claim you can make is, we think the election was mismanaged. That's it. Now, we discovered during the course of the audit, because we look at everything, and I'm going to go back and give you this little piece again.
1,600 something boxes, all but about 50, the seals were missing or had been broken.
Okay. This, in and of itself, is not a crime. At best, it's malfeasance. It means they didn't follow the rules for protecting the ballots. $1,675 boxes. Out of 1,675 boxes, what we discovered is 52, only 52, were actually sealed according to the procedurals handbooks, meaning the rules they must run the election by say that those boxes have to be sealed. Once they're tallied, they have to be sealed in order and taken care of, and they must be permanently sealed. Now I'm going to tell you why this matters. That word fraud right at the top makes sure this evidence didn't get used. Here's why. It's not 1,675 boxes and only 52 were sealed. You have to ask the question about what was the story that those 52 boxes told. This is forensics. You look at it, you make no predeterminations, none, zero. Okay, if there's 1,675 boxes, and for some weird reason only 52 of them were sealed according to operational procedures, then you ask the second question is, what is the difference between these 52 boxes and these 1,625 boxes? That's the second question you must ask. Now, I'm going to pre-give you this answer. You already know it if you followed me for long. The 52 boxes were hand selected at the close of the election by Katie Hobbs and team that said, if we get audited, we will only look at these boxes. Now, the first thing you should learn in that is when they tell you, well, we just have boxes from random batches and we check them. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is. Listen to my words. Well, we just have boxes that are just randomly selected in the numbers of all the boxes we have, and we look at those. Well, that is a technical statement because they are random throughout the numbers. What they're negating telling you is they were pre-selected, which now generates another question. Why would you pre-select boxes? Again, I'm going through this drill because this video that's circulating that is mismanaging expectations and setting people up for failure again. Okay? Now, this is where auditing comes in. Anytime they do a set aside, right, of any boxes of ballots, there is a piece of paper that must go with it. If they don't have that piece of paper with it, it compounds their problems. And so we were able to confirm that the boxes that were set aside were ones that were specifically set aside to be hand audited in the case of an audit, which means it comes with a piece of paper that directs that. See, they will let you assume all day long. We just have, hell, there's 1,675 boxes. They all have different numbers. We just picked 52 of them. See, your mind fills in the blanks. This is what the system relies on. You see experts claiming that's fraud. You use the word fraud, which they want you to use. You've disqualified the case. So now we know 52 boxes were hand selected. So you've got to go, why would they hand select these boxes? You got to keep on, you got to peel back the onion like Shrek says, layer by layer. Well, when you look inside those boxes, you see the by the book standards. Okay? By the book standards. There are an average of 8 batches. A batch is about 200 ballots. They're contained together. They have a header card that says, here's what we learned in this batch. The header card's there, the batch there. Header card's there, the batch there. Header card, get it? You're able to see the procedure. So now you're able to verify, oh, that's the procedure. Interesting. It matches what the manual says. That is the procedure. this box is procedurally correct. So now you go and you ask, okay, but what's different? This is where you compare the 52 boxes now to the remaining 1,625. What we should have is 1,675 boxes that were all procedurally the same. So now you ask, if these boxes match the procedure, they're sealed, they're in order, how does the rest of the boxes look compared to these 52? Well, in the 1,625 extra boxes, they were not sealed. All of the batches were just all over the place. Header cards were in the bottom. The batches weren't kept together. And where batches were kept together, there was just a bunch of other random ballots just stuffed in the boxes. You see how you have to peel this back? And you're going, wait a minute. If we are looking at everything, and this happened for the first time in history, why are all of these in disarray and all of these are perfect? Now it's when you pull back and go 52 perfect, 1,625 shit shows. What is this telling to us? Well, the only one thing we know for a fact is they hand chose these boxes to look at if they were going to be required to do an audit themselves. Well, it so happens that the boxes they chose were in perfect order. Because why? Well, I want to see the boxes you looked at. Well, here they are. And you look at them and they're pretty and they're pristine. See, they're not showing you the rest in the back of the room. And you go, oh, damn, it looks like you did a good job. So now you have a forensic evidentiary procedure that you're looking at the differences to try to determine, okay, what happened here? Now, when we got to the end of the audit, we found the paper was a shit show. We found the printing was a shit show. We found the no folds was a shit show. We found the duplicates was a shit show. All these things bad. You know what's also unique to those 52 boxes? They don't have those problems. Wait a minute. If there's 1,623 that, or whatever, that have all this mess and all these problems, and you're saying these 52 have none of those problems that should have occurred organically. If it was organic, they should reflect the same problems, and they have none of them. Now what do you have? You have what's called a new evidentiary line. Because basically you go, if these are random and they were just pulled and they're supposed to be representative of snapshots of the election, how is it that they don't have any of the problems that 2 million plus ballots have? Get it? It is in this process that you now begin to see there is no way that could have organically happened. Again, this is a forensic investigation. I'm covering this very simple video that's told you our vote scanning system's being turned off so nefarious ballots can be counted. If you don't have the time to invest in this program, you don't have the time to save your country. That's why you have to understand this. That's why you have got to put in the intellectual capital and intellectual honesty to understand this. Now, just in this one, I'm going to wrap this up very conveniently. You now have a theory that needs to be chased down. If there's 52 boxes that were perfect and they were hand chosen, that if they got audited, we'll look only at these. And they have none of the errors that all the other boxes show. And you've now discovered they were pre-picked. And you now discovered there's an outlier. You get to bring in an additional piece of information to measure it against. What is that additional piece of information you'll now get to use as an exploration angle? Have you figured it out yet? He told you in the problem. I'm going to go back. Now listen.
Officers delayed 5 months before they delivered the ballots. Out of 1,600 something boxes, all but about 50, the seals were missing or had been broken.
Now, if 52 boxes were chosen on the day of the election, that will audit these if we are forced to do an audit. And you now know these son of a bitches were perfect. And you now all of these were in disarray. What's the material difference now? What's the differentiator between the boxes? You ready? Those 5 months. This is how evidence comes into play. This is why you cannot make any assumptions. Any assumptions. Because see, now, these people have trained you for years to say the wrong words, to fight this the wrong way, to file your lawsuits wrong. It's all misdirection. They now know you know so much that they've got to get you back. They got to get you back repeating the old bullshit, which is why they're recirculating this crap. They need you to keep on saying the old bullshit. You now have a plausibility line, a thread, to say, wait a minute. If these boxes were pre-selected and they're perfect, and they're all supposed to be sealed, and they're not, and these are in pristine order, and all of these are in disarray, and these are in batches, and these are in wads and stuffed with ballots. Well, the seals being broken means they were opened. So now you have a question. Well, since they were supposed to be sealed on election night, and they obviously weren't sealed, what's the difference between election night and now? 5 months. Now you have an entirely different line of forensic questioning. Could the reason we are seeing these boxes, it's a question, could the reason we are seeing these boxes in disarray is because people accessed the boxes over the course of 5 months? And then, if these 52 boxes not only were pre-prepared, but if you ran the numbers, the 52 boxes would mathematically cross-confirm the final number of the election, which they never had. So can you look at this a different way? Well, yeah. What could have happened in those 5 months? And then when you look at the numbers and you realize they were scanning in ballots a month after the election, and that none of the ballot types matched, not a one. They were way off. They said there were mail-in ballots. They weren't machine folded. There were too many hand folds, and there were too many no folds. So now what do you have? See, this is just a fact. Why were they running in 100,000+ ballots a month after the election? Why do none of the numbers add up as to the material fact of the paper? Meaning it should be mechanically folded if it's a mail-in ballot. Meaning it's hand folded to walk-in, but that's way over the top. The no folds is election day, but that's way over the top. Do you have an answer? Potentially an investigative thread you can now pull that says, well, what was really happening during those 5 months? Now, the question is, if you can prove that over the 5 months, right, that they decided the outcome of the election, it was never real, then all of a sudden, oh shit, these guys are going to get the ballots. We got to delay, we got to delay, we got to delay. Fuck, we got to pull all of the ballots that show Trump really won. We got to pull all those ones and we got to replace them. Now, can you understand why none of the numbers match and everything's off? There should be X number of folded by machine ballots, but that number is 2 full digits of percentages lower in every single one. It's because those weren't the original mail-in ballots. This is forensics, folks. Now, I took you through a piece. That the system doesn't want you to know, because the system doesn't want you, they want you to say fraud. They put other experts out there to train you. But here's the deal. I never had to say fraud. See, this is maladministration. You certified an election on November 30th, and the numbers never existed. That is maladministration. You said you had this many mail-in ballots, this many handfolds or whatever. You never had them. And because you did it to such propensity, and now we understand why these 1,625 boxes this way. What have you proven? It was much more than maladministration. It was malfeasance, which is the intentional act. But if you start off with the word fraud like they're training you to do, it'll never see the light of day. Let's keep on going.
There was no chain of custody on them. Dominion has a...
Okay. There were no chain of custody on them. Is that a crime? Put it in chat. Yes or no. These ballots had no chain of custody. Is that a crime? No. Is it fraud? Is it proof of fraud that there was no chain of custody? No. You're right. It's a breach of protocol, which is maladministration. They're supposed to have a chain of custody. The boxes are supposed to be sealed. They're not. It's maladministration. You didn't follow the guidelines. See, all you start weaving together is you didn't use the guidelines. You cannot use corruption. Somebody says, instead of fraud, can we use the word corruption? Yes, let me tell you how that works. Go down to your county. Change your registration from conservative to Democrat. And then you can use that word all day long. If you won't even play by the rules, which they're banking on, why do you need a substitute word? See, you either get this right or drop out of the game. The system, fraud. Well, I'm not going to say fraud because Jovan says don't say fraud, so I'm going to say corruption. Does the word corruption have a definition? And I'm sorry to get so technical on this, but somebody asked in chat, well, can't we just say corruption? I'm going to let you answer your own question. Corruption, dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. Did you prove bribery? There's that damn word fraudulent. But see, you're trying to fill in the blanks. They're giving you the ammo they want you to use. It's fraud. It's fraud. It's fraud. It's fraud. It's fraud. I try to teach you words matter legally. You just want to substitute the word. You know what? It's a game of words. I just want to fix our elections. The reason they're afraid of me is because I can eat their lunch. The reason they won't debate me is because I've already won. The reason they ignore it and they put shit like this out is because the battle is done. Oh, by the way, some people say I'm at the giving up point. By the way, if they can tell you nothing's going to happen and they can train you nothing's going to happen, they're going to throw a party in your favor if you give up. That's what they want you to do. If they can make everybody say, fuck it, I'm not going to vote anymore. You think they give a shit? No, they got you to the same place. This is all a war for your mind. It's all bullshit. It's all psychological warfare. And yeah, Brad, if they can make you give up, you allowed them. You should be fighting for your life, your kid's life, your grandkid's life, because it is. I don't know how to give up. And Lord knows I think of it. But see, they train you. And so, yeah, words matter. So you can't use corruption. It's the same thing. That's why I'm doing this.
Very specific requirement for ballot paper to be used in a Dominion scanner. So we're talking about something that's 4 or 5 times.
Okay, so here's an expert saying there's a very specific requirement for the ballot paper to be used in the scanners.
Dominion has a very specific requirement for ballot paper to be used in a Dominion scanner. So we're talking about something that's 4 or 5 times thicker than an ordinary sheet of paper. It has to be manufactured.
Okay. Question. Does Dominion Voting Systems have a requirement for the paper that must be used with their machines? Yes or no? Put in chat. Does Dominion have a specific requirement? No, they don't. Oh, see, one said yes. No, they don't. Let me tell you why. Read the manual. We recommend this pound of paper. That's it. Is that a requirement? Fucking words matter. No. It's a recommendation. There's a big difference between a requirement and a recommendation. Now, this is all our work. Even though William Daugherty's presenting this as if he's the expert on it, it's my team and me that did the work. We're the experts on it. Okay? So is there a requirement of the paper that has to be used? No. He goes on to say that it's a requirement. It's manufactured by Roland.
Of paper. It has to be manufactured by the Roland Paper Company in Canada, and it has to have an infrared.
Okay. So he basically says it has to be it has to be manufactured by the Roland Paper Company in Canada. Is that factually correct? No. There is a preferred vendor they use, which is Roland. Now, let me set this up for you. There's a fellow by the name of Bob Hughes, which we brought into the process. We brought him into the process because we knew he used to run Runback. We brought him into the process. We used him as a go-between between Roland and us and the whole bit. Now, to this day, the guy, you would think he's the man that did it all. And he certainly takes credit for it. And now talks like he's a prosecutor. But here are the facts. It's not a requirement. Period. Runback does have contracts to acquire their reams of paper. They're big old rolls like hay bales. Big monster rolls of paper. They do acquire their paper from Roland in Canada. Now, technically, just so you understand, by United States operational procedures in our elections, the paper we use in our elections is supposed to be from the United States of America. Procedurally, it's already out of whack. Okay? So what we did is we got to know the Roland Paper Company. We did the debriefs. We did the interviews. They sent us all kinds of material and information and facts. They worked with us hand in hand to develop our forensics for the paper. So I don't know why he's commenting on it, but okay. And I do know that Bob Hughes takes credit for all of it. But for all the forensic work, it's our team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm going to give you a few rapid fire things here that are material to the 2020 election. Number one, for the first time in history, a county came out well in advance of the election, a year and a half in advance, and started bragging, and this has nothing to do with Canada, and Canada is not material to this fact. Zero. Focus on Canada, you missed the point. For the first time in history, a state and a county came out and said, we are exclusively using vote secure paper for the 2020 election. Never in the history of ballot paper had anything like that been disclosed before. Never. It named the manufacturer. It named the grade of paper. In advance, the state, the county, named the manufacturer, named the specific type of paper. Now, in vote secure paper, the name, there's emails. You can see Katie Hobbs and all these guys bragging about the paper. It won't bleed. It came with an additional directive. And the additional directive was you now must use a Sharpie to cast your vote. Now, you know, and I know, that billions of pieces of ballot papers and otherwise have been put out over history that says do not use a marker on your ballot for whatever reason. So this was the first time in history, same election, that the state made a mandate. You must use a Sharpie. In fact, there's all kinds of emails that says, okay, well, early voting, we can't control it, but you must force everybody to use a Sharpie on election day. Everybody knows Sharpies bleed. Well, that's why the paper comes in. They said, nope, we ordered vote secure paper. It's special. It won't bleed. So what you do in any audit is you're auditing their claims. Is this that you required standard, normal procedure, and was there a true reason for it? So now we're back up. In interviewing Roland, we found out something interesting. Roland Paper Company told us Maricopa County did not order vote secure paper. Now you have to ask yourself a question. If Maricopa County, which is basically the state of Arizona, said for the first time in history, we're using vote secure paper and you can use Sharpies. And Vote Secure Paper is owned by Roland. And we're investigating Roland now because that's what a forensic investigation does. And they tell us, no, they ordered no Vote Secure Paper from us. None. You gotta ask the next right question. What do you think they had it in inventory? They said, they went back through all their records and said, no, they don't have anything in inventory. See, they never thought anybody would actually be doing true investigation work. So we now know they ordered no Vote Secure Paper, and they had none in supplies, and they had none in previous year's orders that would have even dictated they could have had enough on hand to print 2 million ballots. So it's all going, wait a minute, their words aren't checking out. Which opens up the next logical question. Why would a county spend millions of dollars in time and media telling their voters, we have the greatest, safest paper in the world, and we got it just for you, and then say, we know we've told you for the last 50 years, don't use a marker, but now we want you to use a marker, and then lie. You got to measure their words, not some professor words, not somebody's theory. You just measure their words. And their words were ballpoint pen ink on ballots gums up the scanning machines. That was their excuse. So what do? Well, now we have another investigative thread. There is not one single repair in the history of elections for scanners or tally machines needing to be cleaned because ballpoint pens stuck to the screens or drums. Not a one. Ever in the history of all elections known. Not a one. And we only got better in ink. They became faster drying, not slower drying. So it was all a bullshit excuse. They had to explain, oh shit, we were telling them to use Sharpies. And they know they're going to bleed because they're being taught it's going to bleed. Well, we got to have an excuse. Well, we're using a super paper and pens are bad. So Sharpies are good. About face. We'll see people believe that shit. Now I'm going to cover these in synchronous. I'm going to cover the little last part of it here. Okay. Dr. Doherty goes on to explain that this is a very particular type of paper, and he is correct. But let me let you hear his explanation of it.
It has to be manufactured by the Roland Paper Company in Canada, and it has to have an infrared fluorescent watermark on it. Inside the scanner, there's an infrared light and a detector to make sure that the ballot that's been inserted is not counterfeit. %100% bullshit. If you were to do your homework and look up scanning using IR, you will find out that scanning with the use of IR happens to be one of my patents. I have 207 patents in this space alone. The misdirection they're doing here is Vote Secure Paper, and I shared all of this with Karen Fan because we work with Roland, and Roland said they didn't use Vote Secure Paper.
And so I said, I need a way to prove to the Arizona Senate that vote secure paper wasn't used. We got the county saying it. They're doing television commercials on it. They're doing marketing campaigns. All the newscasts are repeating it. It's a lie. We've got all the documentation from Roland saying they ordered no vote secure paper. We know their inventories, they didn't have any. I need to have a way to demonstrate to Karen Fann, the president of the Senate, that vote secure paper was not used. So Roland sent us even more care packages they sent us all their papers that's ever been used throughout their history. But they sent us the authentic vote secure paper, and it came with a little bitty device. You see it on your screen there. Now, the vote secure paper, inside the blending of the paper, has a tagant. I'm going to explain to you how this works. Remember when we were kids and we used to get lifesaver books? Remember those little books you'd get in your stocking and there'd be lifesavers rolls? And if you were to open a lifesaver and you see all these different colors right down it, well, that's actually, that visual is how you track bombs and C4 explosives. The way we're able to track where a bomb comes from forensically and find the bomber and find out who made the C4, the plastic or whatever, is by law, it has to contain a tagant. So think of that roll of lifesavers and think of there's 12 in a row and each one's a different color. Looks like a rainbow. Now take that and microscopically push that layer down and make it the fraction of a single piece of glitter. Think of all those layers. And now you're going to microsize it to about the size of a corner of a single piece of glitter. Now, that tagant, T-A-G-G-E-N-T, is distributed to all of the explosive manufacturers. In a rotating cycle, they get assigned colors, and it's based upon what is the particular material and formulation, who is the manufacturer, what factory, what date it was made, okay, what batch it came from, and where was this batch distributed. It's an ID code in color, and it's microscopic. And so these things are exploded to about the size of dust. That powder is sent to the manufacturers, and as they make their bomb-making materials, they've got to mix it in the powders. If their bomb-making materials do not contain their tagans, they violated federal law and be shut down. So it has to have these tagans in it. Now, why are they in there? It's because when there's a terrorist act, a bombing or whatever, forensically, we can scour the ground, people's clothing. If it blew up a person, you'll find it embedded in their clothing. You find these little microscopic pieces. You pick them out of their clothing. And then you look at them under advanced microscopy, which is what we did in Arizona, and we see these little lifesaver rolls. And by that lifesaver roll, we're able to tell everything about where did this explosive material come from. That is called a tagant. Okay? A tagant. That is why forensics and protecting our country is so sophisticated that most people don't know this. We can track it. We can track it back to the manufacturer, what plant, what factory, what batch, how was it packaged, what was the formula, and they cut it off in batches, and then you're able to track it. You eventually say, well, we sent out 20 batches, and here it is, and here's one batch here, and you're able to go to those facilities, and can you account for all your C4? And they go look through it, and all of a sudden they found out, well, shit, now we're missing a pound. That's how forensics is done. So what Professor Daughtery here is doing is misinformed, ill-informed, and misdirection. Now, he intentionally uses the word watermark, and it's because one of the cons that's out there is trying to get people to use watermark ballots in their election, headed up by Mark Fincham. They don't tell you they get a quarter a ballot or a dime a ballot or a nickel a ballot. They don't tell you that stuff. He has taken all of this and blended it into one convenient lie that the machines look for the watermarks. Now I'm going to let this play out.
Inside the manufactured by the Roland Paper Company in Canada, and it has to have an infrared fluorescent watermark on it. Inside the scanner, there's an infrared light and a detector to make sure that the ballot that's been inserted is not counterfeit. But when the citizen auditors actually got to look at the ballots, they found 9 or 10.
Again, this is our work. But everything he just said is 100% not true. So let's unpack them. Number one, it's a chemical reactor in the paper when the paper is made. That little device there, which is like your key fob to your car, right? You basically set it on the paper and it either displays a green light or a red light. That's it. It has to touch it. Green light or red light. That's it. My voice is loosening up the more I use it. That's why I need to do this. Okay? And so there are no watermarks. The system wants to sell you, we're going to cure this with watermarks. They've already began. But as I taught you, there is not a single scanner or tally machine in use now or in use in 2020 that can verify a watermark. There is not an IR detector in these things. This is blatant misinformation. Not a single scanner or tally machine can verify if the right paper was used or if the paper was counterfeit. Now, the problem I have with this is a top academic expert. And this is crap. Now, what he's going to go on and tell you is they turned off the machines not to recognize the paper. That is incorrect. And that's not how it works. He knows not of what he speaks. But this is how bad the misinformation is out there. Yes, we discovered all different types of papers used. We confirmed it. But you do that with fiber forensics and tens of millions of samples, okay, in order to detect it. These are the things we were looking for. The color dots we were looking for, you'll see the little blue dots to the top of your screen. Those little blue dots, those are stochastic mix, machine inserted color. Through our filtering system using scans, separate, not in the scanner, we can pick out those dots which appear blue and highlight them and confirm, yes, this is the right paper. If you look on the left, you'll see the fiber line, and you're looking at the broken fiber. This is how microscopy works in forensics. But you see that line, how it's broken? That also meant it was machine folded in the exact right place. It should fall on that line. It did. The bottom left, that red should be there. You can see this was filled out with a ballpoint pen. This is our forensics. But we've got somebody trying to convince you this is a watermark and that they just cut off something in the machine. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they've convinced the states to use a ballot with a watermark. It's total bullshit. It cannot be tracked. It cannot be spotted. None of the machines do it. But they're trying to sell you the narrative. If they were a so-called expert, they just turned that off on the machine or we would spawn a counterfeit. It's a total lie.
Inside the scanner, so we're talking about something that's 4 or 5 times thicker than an ordinary sheet of paper. It has to be manufactured by the Roland Paper Company in Canada, and it has to have an infrared fluorescent watermark on it. Inside the scanner, there's an infrared light and a detector to make sure that the ballot that's been inserted is not counterfeit. But when the citizen auditors actually got to look at the ballots, they found 9 or 10 different kinds of paper, most of which came from Staples and Office Max. You say, well, how is this possible?
The grift politically with watermarked ballots is instead of using a 2-cent ballot, they're going to go to a $1 ballot. And it's printed with a currency grade IR watermark in it. The lawmakers, of their own admission, are earning options and fees per ballot used. But do the machines detect them? No, it's a false sense of hope. Everything this expert told you is bullshit. He told you, he said in there, well, the paper came from Staples, the paper came from Office Max. He's only regurgitating our training cycle. Let me tell you how this works. In order for us to see the grades of the paper underneath, now you see we can see 2 grades of paper here. Top left, I can see fiber grade. Top right, we're looking at it through a filter to see the textures and we're looking at the edges. Bottom left, I'm seeing the printal grade. You can see it by looking at the letters. We're looking at how does the paper hold the color. All of that we can measure against based on the right paper. In order to do this, here's how we had to train our systems. People in Arizona that got extra ballots that held on to them. We got those. So we know this is an official ballot, supposedly mailed in. You take those ballots, okay? You basically have this big piece of ballot paper and you start snapping forensic photographs, basically in the size of a postage stamp. Okay? And you do the front and the back of the ballot. Then you change the scale and the lumosity. Scale means, 100 dpi, 200 dpi, 300 dpi, up. That's increasing the scale of dots per inch. But at the same time, you've got to repeat it again. So you take thousands of photos of a singular authentic ballot. You do multiple ballots. So we had, I think, 50 of them. So you got thousands of photos of an authentic ballot. You do it 50 times over. So now you got hundreds of thousands of photos of the real thing. Then you change in increments the density of the pixel. You go up, 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 up. So now you have grades and levels. And so if we were looking at 100 DPI, this is what it'll look like. If we're looking at 5,000 DPI, this is what it should look at. And that becomes a standard. Then you change the light source. Light source. Direct light. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Get it? You see how the light's changing on my face? See this here? Say that. Nothing's perfect in any examination. So we have to account for every possible human interaction. So now you take your lights and you duplicate them. So you have 100 different angles of light, from no light, meaning native snap, to lit well. Now you got to repeat every photograph over at every DPI density. And then you've got 100 different light. So now you've repeated that 100 times over. Then, okay, you take those ballots you have that are authentic. We were able to get extras. We took men, women, and children of all ages, of all dexterities, and we gave them writing instruments. We decided the writing instrument based upon what the market data told us the most common pens in use at a civilian level and in use at the government office level. In other words, what does Maricopa order? And we begin to take people, left-handers, right-handers, old people, people with Parkinson's, and they start voting the ovals. And now we snap every single oval by 100 people. By the instrument they did it, so 20 different times over, by every DPI, by every light source, and you shoot it all over. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of images. I can tell you this is a right-hander. Why can't I tell you it's a right-hander? I can tell you this is a base blue gel, but I can tell you by looking at that oval, it's a right-hander, and it's what's called impact and liftoff. So we know where they start, we know where they end, and we know it's right-handed because you see the swoops get darker as it goes up. That's a right-hand spin out. You follow what I'm saying? This is forensics. It is only then that you take hundreds of millions of images in every possible age range, every possible lighting range, with pens that come from the very market where it is. You feed it into computers and you teach the computers to recognize it. And then you run this shit through. And the computer tells you, this was a left-handed person, here's the pen they use, here's the paper it was on. And what we found is some of these paper, although they had to be large size orders, was just a generic bullshit paper. The same kind of paper you could buy it as Staples and oversized. You could buy it if somebody wanted to manufacture ballots. They get oversized paper, they cut it down, they print the ballots, they vote them, they run them into the systems. Yeah, you see how you have darker on the left at this oval? Let me see, I haven't done this in a while, but, well, I don't want to get there. You go back. But this is how you train systems to do this and to catch this stuff. And so here you have an expert that's on the stand that has no idea what he's talking about. But what's really going on is they're trying to convince you these are watermarks and the machines can see them if somebody doesn't manipulate the software. And it's a bullshit lie.
There's an infrared light and a detector to make sure that the ballot that's been inserted is not counterfeit. But when the citizen auditors actually
100% bullshit. But if you understand it in the concept that they're going to placate you and the system wants to move to watermarks, they're now trying to seed you. Oh, well, the machines can really catch it. Somebody just switched it off. They use our work because you know it. That's the 80% truth they will tell you. But what they're working in is what they really want. What they really want is you to think these machines will catch it when they're scanned in. And it's bullshit.
got to look at the ballots. They found 9 or 10 different kinds of paper, most of which came from Staples and Office Max. You say, well, how is this possible that they scanned 2 million ballots and didn't detect and reject the counterfeit paper? It's very simple. There's a configuration setting to turn the detector off.
Bullshit. But if they can convince you there's a detector setting that got cut off, what can they convince you? It's the machines. There is no setting that does this. There is no detection settings. There is nothing that does this. There is not an infrared reporting back two-way source that confirms or denies it's the right paper. It's not a watermark. It's bullshit. But what they're convincing you of, it's the machines. And who are they keeping you focused on? Well, Dominion happened to provide the scanner. All of this is misdirection bullshit. I mean, think about how sophisticated this is. I'm only covering a 2-minute video, folks. I'm telling you the facts. I'm showing you how it's done. I've taught on this for years. The reason you're seeing this con come back up is they're trying to convince you. This is Mike Lindell's expert. This is Mike Lindell's team. These are the guys that get funded to do these documentaries, both Mike Lindell and Patrick Byrne. But this information is incorrect. Dr. Daugherty should know this, but he just told you they shut off the software. Now, let me tell you why they do that. And it's really simple, and this is what you need to understand. If you keep on focusing on the devices, they are subject to the Help America Vote Act and the Election Assistance Commission rules, which are all voluntary. They're going to want to try to convince you Venezuela and all these guys did it. They're going to try to convince you somebody went into a machine and switched something. Why did somebody pick 52 boxes in advance? Because they knew what boxes to choose would be perfect. Was that a fucking machine? Nothing was wrong with those 52 boxes. The 1,600 plus were wrong. Was that a fucking machine in the back room doing that shit? Republican and Democrat officials telling you we ordered vote secure paper. Use Sharpies. Ballpoint pens will mess up the machines. You got to use Sharpies. Was that a machine? No, it was election officials. It was bullshit. Was this a machine that changed the nature of the paper? No. Were the machines still running a fucking month later to add in 118,019 votes? No. So what was the real issue? And I'll tell you what the real issue is. The real issue is they need you to keep away from the fact that our election systems are broken and it's federal racketeering. And that's why Kamala went from 68 million votes to now she's over 75 million. Have the machines been running for over a year? No, it's all a grift. By the way, remember they told you got to use Sharpies? By the way, that was on election day ballots. Just those few ballots on election day. Let's just call it 130,000 ballots. Those 130,000 ballots, in the machine's eyes, looking at it from a scan, had 2.1 million extra votes on them. Do you understand what I'm telling you when I say this? The ballots, the bleed was so bad, and the machines see the bleeds, okay? They see through them. They see all of the bleeds. The machine thinks they're votes, okay? The machine thinks they're votes. And it basically says, somebody doodled all over this ballot. Well, when it goes into the machine, they said, yeah, you didn't mean your vote wasn't counted. They're able to temporarily suspend it. Why do they need to temporarily suspend it? Because if they can suspend it, they know what the vote needs to make it win. So why did they have all of these ballots run in a month after the election? Well, it's one of those anomalies. Remember, like 52 boxes were perfect and 1,600 weren't? What if we just looked at the ballots that were affected by Sharpies? If we just looked at those, forget 2 million ballots. Let's just look at just this one little section. Can we find any other common denominators? Yeah. You can basically find that those ballots, every single one of them were modified. Every single one of them are missing the original photograph of the ballot. They can't prove it ever existed. Every one of them were zoomed and changed up. Every one of them had the headers removed. Every one of them are election day ballots. Every one of them were affected by the Sharpies. And therefore they made them say what they needed, and they ran them in a month later. And by the way, even after they ran them in a month later, even though they certified it November 30th, they still fucking missed the number. And that's forensics. And the con is on again. I'll play the rest of this bullshit.
So basically, the machine was set not to check whether the paper being inserted was counterfeit paper. And
the machine being changed is a boo-boo not provable. Fuck with the paper. This is 165,000 state felonies, 165,000 U.S. felonies. Each one its own felony. But if you can blame it on the machine, it's just a boo-boo from an unknown source from somewhere around the world.
You can count counterfeit ballots as many times as you want and get the same numbers. But that doesn't mean that they were legitimate ballots, because they weren't.
And this is how it works. And this is what they do. I'll take 70, 75, 80% truth, play it back to you because you know you've heard it. But they'll change how it was really done because they need you to focus on the one thing they can't enforce, and that's the machines and the word fraud. And they want to force you on Dominion because Dominion's been paid billions to take the heat, and they're laughing all the way to the fucking bank. But if you look at the paper tells you the truth. And they're doing this under the radar, folks. And I'm worried that they brought Kamal up to 75 plus million. They're going to steal the midterms. It's the con. And this is why you are the only one that can fix it. They need to know the truth. This is why we need your help. They want the evidence to go away, but this is the only evidence in the world that can show you exactly how it happened, so we can put an end to this and make sure we fix our elections. Please, folks, share this program. But I'm telling you, we need your help. This election goes to way. All you've got is this bullshit left. And this is the con. Love you all. Share this program.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or 6-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pulled the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.